Hello everyone. Today I'm here to talk about lambda bacteriophage and specialized transduction. What is a bacteriophage? A bacteriophage is nothing but it is a virus particle which infects bacteria and the archaebacteria. So these bacteriophages are a group of viruses or a class of viruses that infects the eubacteria and the archaebacteria. These bacteriophages were first discovered by Felix de Herel and Frederick Duart. The term bacteriophage was coined by Felix de Herel, meaning bacteria eaters. We know that virus particles they get invaded into the host bacterium cells and they take over the host machinery for their own replication and their other synthesis process, and at the last they either lyse this host cell or they get integrated into the host cell. So that's why they are known as the bacteria eaters. We know that virus particle they have a head which is made up of capsid, a protein coat. So these capsid they are in turn made up of subunits known as capsomeres. And the genetic material of these bacteriophages they may be either DNA or RNA but not the both. And this DNA or RNA they can be either single stranded or double stranded in nature. Now, depending upon the morphology or the physical characteristics, the bacteriophages have been classified into three types. They are an icosahedral head with a tail, an icosahedral head without tail, and a filamentous form. Now, specifically talking about the lambda bacteriophage, its classification is as follows. It comes under the group 1, order Cordovirus, family Cyphoviridae, genus Lambdavirus, and species Phage lambda, or also known as lambda bacteriophage. So coming to the properties, um, these lambda bacteriophage they actually infect enteric bacteria. That means the bacteria which comes under the family Enterobacteriaceae are being affected by these lambda bacteriophage such as E. coli cells. So these lambda bacteriophage they specially infect the E. coli cells, and these bacteriophage they actually consist of flexible tail and icosahedral head and tail fibers. So we know that virus particle consists of an icosahedral head. So this head it is made up of capsid or a protein coat. Okay, so these capsids they are in turn made up of capsomeres, and there are about 300 to 600 capsomeres present in the head of the bacteriophage, and each of the capsomere they are 37.5 kilodaltons in weight. This head is now joined to a long non-contractile tail which is 150 nanometer in length. And when you look at the virus particle, there are about 12 to 14 different types of proteins present in this virus particle in the lambda phage. Okay, and when you sum up, they are in total more than 1,000 molecules present in each lambda phage molecule or particle. And the capsid of the lambda phage it is arranged in pentamers and hexamers, and the tail consists of three stacked discs and possesses 25 nanometer thin tail fibers. What is the function of tail fibers? It helps the virus particle to recognize the host bacterium cell and to get absorbed onto the surface of the host bacterial cell. Now this lambda bacteriophage is also known as temperate phage because this lambda bacteriophage it can undergo lysogenic cycle, and it can also either switch between the lytic and lysogenic cycle in the host cell depending upon the external environments. Now coming to the genome and genome organization, the genetic material of lambda phage is double-stranded DNA and it is linear in shape. So the DNA length would be 48,490 base pairs long, and at the both ends of the DNA you will find 12 base pairs long single-stranded regions known as cos sites, or they are also known as sticky ends. What is the function of this cos site? Whenever the lambda phage or the virus particle enters into the host cytoplasm, the cos sites, which are complementary to each other, they will come into their vicinity and they will form the complementary base pairs. Okay, so because of that, it will uh, change the conformation of the linear DNA into the circular DNA. And this cos site, they actually consist of cos q, cos b and cos n proteins, and it is flanked by nu1 proteins. Okay, and the genes which are present in the DNA of phage, they are actually clustered according to their functions. For example, the genes which are responsible for the head are clustered to one place. The genes which are responsible for the tail synthesis are clustered at one place, and the genes which are clustered responsible for replication and recombination are clustered some other place. So according to their functions, they are clustered at one place. And in turn, these genes are grouped into three operons, namely left operon, right operon, and immunity operon. In right operon, the genes involved are head and tail synthesis, and as well as the DNA replication for lytic cycle. So the right operon, they consist of the head and tail synthesis genes, and as well as the information for DNA replication for lytic cycle. And in the left operon, it consists of the genes responsible for integration and recombination of the phage genome into the host cell during the lysogenic events. And the immunity operon, they consist of the decision making thing. For example, whenever the lambda phage genome, it enters into the host cell, now it should decide whether the lambda genome should undergo either into lytic or lysogenic. So this decision is taken up by the immunity operon. Now, the head synthesis genes, they actually include A, W, B, C, D, and E. So these genes, synthesis genes, they are present at the right end of the genome. So when you look at the lambda phage genome, you see at the right side that the A, W, B, C, D, and E, they are present on the right side of the lambda phage genome, and the next to the head synthesis genes are the tail synthesis genes, which are F, Z, U, V, G, H, M, L, K, I, and J. So these are clustered next to the head synthesis genes. Now, excision and integration genes, they are present on the left side of the genomic map, and these are responsible for the excision and integration of the phage genome from the and into the uh, host cell genome respectively. The XIS gene, it codes for excision proteins, which helps in excision of the lambda genome from the prophage, and from the lysogen, and the integrase protein, that codes for integrase enzyme, which helps in the integration of the lambda genome into the host genome. Now coming to the recombination genes, these recombination genes are responsible for the you know specific site specific recombination between the lambda genome and the host genome. So there are three types of red genes to uh, frequently happen a normal recombination. So to happen a general normal recombination, three red genes are required. What are those? Now red L codes for exonuclease, red B gene codes for beta protein, and red V gene codes for gamma protein. So what is the function of gamma protein? It actually inhibits the function of the exonuclease 5. Now talking more in detail about the lysogenic phase of the lambda phage. So as soon as the lambda phage genome enters into the host cytoplasm, now it has choice. Uh, Either it can enter into lytic cycle or into the lysogenic cycle, depending upon the environmental conditions or the factors present in the host cytoplasm. The stages it includes adsorption or infection, penetration, then biosynthesis, maturation, and finally release. So coming to the adsorption first, um, as I said you earlier that the tail fibers, they are responsible for the recognition of host surface for the attachment or absorption of virus particle onto the surface of it, right? So next is the penetration or infection. Here, the tail fibers of lambda phage are non-contractile. Non-contractile in the sense it cannot force its DNA to inject into the bacterial cell. So that is why it uses another way to invade host cell by interacting tail fibers with a specific pore on outer membrane of the host cell. So what happens here is the J protein of the lambda phage, which is present in the tail region, it will now interact with the maltosporin of the host cell membrane, which is present in the outer membrane. So as in the picture depicted, you can see that the protein which is present in the tail region of the lambda phage, now it interacts with the maltosporin of the bacterial cell which is present in the outer membrane. So through this the DNA enters into the host cell, right? And uh, this linear DNA enters into the host cell through Lamb proteins and circularizers. Circularizers. So we know that the cos site, they will come into the vicinity and they will complementary base pair to circularize this DNA. In the right picture, you can see this is the linear DNA which is present in the viral particle. When this genome is inserted into the host cell, now the cos site, it will complete undergo complementary base pairing to give you a circular DNA. And the DNA gyrase of host cell, it will unwide the 80 rich region of this um, lambda genome and it starts the transcription. So you can look into a detailed genomic map of lambda phage. Here at the left end you have attachment site, integrase, GAM, BRED and excise genes, and you have C3 protein termination L1, promoter PL, operator OL, C1 genes, and to the right side you have CRO genes, PRE promoter, C2 OPQ genes, SR, and all the other head and tail synthesizing genes. Yes. So now coming to the biosynthesis process. Biosynthesis process is nothing but it will include all the transcription, translation processes occurring uh, in the lambda genome, which is present in the host cytoplasm. So depending upon the transcription, the genes have been classified into three types. Those are early gene expressions, middle gene expressions, and late gene expressions. So whenever the uh, RNA polymerase of bacteria, it binds to the PR promoter, that means the promoter present at the right hand side, it transcribes the CRO genes from the right direction to produce the CRO proteins, and it terminates at TR1. And whenever the RNA polymerase it binds to PL, it transcribes the N genes to produce the N proteins. Here the N protein, it is an anti-terminator. Why it is anti-terminator, I will let you know in later slides. And it will terminate at TL1. So the production of CRO proteins and N protein is the early gene expressions. And whenever the RNA polymerase prolongs till TR2 region, that means termination R2 region, it will transcribe three more proteins. three more genes to produce three more proteins known as C2 protein, O and P proteins. So these proteins are known as delayed gene proteins or middle gene proteins and middle G expressions for the transcription phenomena. Now, the late genes expressions are whenever this N protein it binds to the TL1, that means the termination on the left side, then it will not allow the RNA polymerase to terminate at the left side. So in the picture depicted below, you will see that here is the PR promoter and here is the PL promoter, right? So whenever the RNA polymerase binds to the PR promoter, it will transcribe towards the right side to produce the CRO protein. Yes, to produce the CRO protein. And if the RNA polymerase binds to PL promoter, then it will transcribe from left hand side and it will transcribe the N gene to produce the N protein. To produce the N protein. And they will terminate at TR1 and TL1 respectively. So this is about the early gene expression. But sometimes instead of terminating at TR1, the RNA polymerase may terminate at TR2 to produce three more proteins, namely C2, O and P proteins from C2, O and P genes respectively, and this comes under the delayed gene expressions. Okay, now coming to the late gene expressions, whenever the N protein is produced, now it will bind to TL1, TR1 and TR2 to allow the RNA polymerase transcribe further the termination site. So here when the RNA polymerase is transcribing from the right hand side, from the right, yeah, so it will, instead of stopping at TL1 or TR1 or TR2, it will allow the RNA polymerase to transcribe furthermore. Now here new gene is transcribed known as Q gene in to produce the Q protein. To produce Q protein. And from the left hand side it will transcribe C3 protein, C3 genes to produce the C3 protein and the enzyme integrase and excision enzymes. So now to Faj lambda enter into lysogenic cycle, the transcription from PL and PR should be stopped. That means operators OL and OR should be blocked. So whenever the lambda genome enters into the host cytoplasm, the transcription of the lambda genome starts. So the early genes and the delayed genes expressions will be similar in the either lytic cycle or the lysogenic cycle. So what is the condition to decide whether the lysogenic genome sorry, the lambda genome should enter into lytic or lysogenic cycle? If the concentration of CRO protein is more in the cytoplasm, then it induces the lytic cycle. So this CRO protein it accumulates and it will bind to operator left and operator right, OL and OR, and it will start the transcription from PL and PR respectively, which again encodes for the head and tail synthesis genes and for the lactic cycle genes. Okay, so therefore it also represses the function of the PRM promoter to induce the transcription of the C1 genes or the lambda repressor genes. If the C1 concentration is more, then it induces the lysogenic cycle. How? Let us know. So whenever the N protein allows the transcription from the TR1 or TL1, then C2 and C3 genes are expressed. So these C2 and C3 genes, they will form a dimer. Why? Because C2 by nature it is unstable and it can be easily digested by bacterial enzyme known as FTSH. So in order to avoid these digestion, getting digestion from the bacterial enzyme, it gets attached to the C3 protein to form a dimer. As a result, it becomes stable, and now this dimer, it will start the transcription of PRE promoter from the PRE promoter PRE, in the sense the promoter for repression establishment. And this transcription of PRE, it is enhanced by C2 protein to transcribe the gene C1 to produce C1 protein from the promoter PRE. And this C1 protein, it is known as lambda repressor. Okay, so C1, it binds to OR and OL and stop the transcription from right and left side respectively. Okay, so this RNA polymerase, it will bind to PRM promoter, and it will start the transcription of the C1 gene, and it increase the production of C1 proteins continuously. Now in the picture you can see that the RNA polymerase will bind to PL and PR to start the transcription from left and right respectively. So from the PL, it will transcribe the C3 gene to produce the C3 protein, and from the PR, it will start the transcription from the right side to produce the C2 protein. Yes, and this PRE promoter, it is actually present on the other side of the strand, and it will now transcribe the C1 gene to produce the C1 protein. So as we know that the C2 protein is unstable and it can be easily digested by FTSH enzyme. So now this C3 will form dimer with the C2 protein, so that it will become unstable and it cannot be digested by the bacterial enzyme. Okay, so now this C2 protein, it will start the transcription from PRE promoter. Okay, so the dimer of C2 and C3, it will start the transcription from PRE promoter to transcribe the C1 gene and produce the C1 protein. Now this so-called C1 protein produced from the C1 gene will now bind to the PL and PR region to stop the transcription from right side and left side, and they will induce the production or the transcription from the PRM to increase their own productivity. Okay, and the transcription of PRE is enhanced by the C2 proteins for the continuously production of C1 proteins. Now actually the operator OR and OL, that is made up of three parts each, namely OR1, OR2, OR3 for the OR operator, and OL1, OL2 and OL3 for the OL region. Okay, so in the picture you can see that the PC1 operator and the PR operator, they are overlapped with the operator OR3, OR2 and OR1, right? So the operator regions are overlapped with the PC1 genes, PC1 promoter and the PR promoter. So now let us talk in detail about C1 protein, its structure and its function. So this C1 protein, actually it is a dimer. You can see this is a dimer of C1 protein, and each monomer, so this is each monomer, it has 236 amino acids, and it have N terminal and C terminal, right? So it has one N terminus and one C terminal domain. So this C terminal is known as protein-protein interaction, and it helps in the dimerization and cooperativity of the C1 protein. And the N terminus, it is helpful in DNA binding, and it is also known as helix turn helix motif. So this is C1 protein which is bound on the operator OR2 and OR1. Okay, this N domain, it actually consists of 5 alpha helices, and one of the alpha helices known as helix 3, it is in the major groove, which is in contact with several bases in the operator half site. So this helix 3, it has the major um, role in contacting with the several bases of the operator regions. Okay, and the affinity of C1 protein to bind the operator is operator R1, operator R2, and operator R3, and it is also similar for operator left. And whenever this C1 protein binds to OR1, RNA polymerase cannot recognize the promoter region, as I stated earlier, and it stops the transcription from the right side. And similarly, the C1 when binds to OR or sorry OL, it stops the transcription from left side also. Okay, but this C1 protein, it actually bind to PRM and increase their own productivity, right? So thus C1 is activator for itself but repressor for other genes. So that is why C1 is known as lambda repressor protein. Okay, so whenever the C1 protein concentration is high, then the transcription of its own gene is also stopped. So whatever the C2 protein was formed earlier, now it will bind to PI gene and starts transcribing the integrase enzyme. So what is the function of integrase enzyme? It uh, allows the lambda genome to enter into the lysogenic cycle. Okay, and this PI promoter, remember, it will transcribe only the integrase gene but not the excision gene. Okay, because excision gene is responsible for the excision of the lambda genome from the host genome. So that's why only the PI promoter, it will transcribe only the integrase enzyme. So in this picture you can see that the C2 protein which was transcribed earlier, now it will bind to the PINT gene to produce the integrase enzyme, right? Now it will produce the integrase enzyme, and the recombination will occur between the recombination sites present in both the lambda genome and the bacterial genome. In bacterial genome, the attachment site is called as attachment B, and in phage it is known as attachment P site. So the genetic recombination at special attachment sites, which is present in both the bacterial genome and the lambda genome, will be called as specialized transduction. Okay, so whenever the lambda genome gets incorporated or engaged or inserted into the bacterial genome, then that lambda genome will be called as prophage, and the bacterial cell having that prophage will call as lysogen. Okay, so this prophage, it will multiply along the host genome replication. So whenever the host genome will be replicated, simultaneously the prophage will also be multiplied. The lysogenic stage is established by the C1 repressor. Okay, so as I said you that C1 repressor is the lambda or the phage repressor. So the lysogenic stage is established by this repressor only, and this prophage during the lysogenic cycle, it will be transferred to every generation of the bacterial cell until and unless it gets induced into the lytic cycle. Now, prophage induction. What is the prophage induction? So, whenever the bacterial cell it undergoes any stress, or whenever there is any stress external to the bacterial cell, such as UV radiation or less glucose concentration in the medium, so this prophage, it will automatically excised from the bacterial genome and it will enter into the lytic cycle. Okay, so this sauce, which is a DNA repair mechanism, it will be established in which the enzyme REC-A is activated. Okay, so this REC-A enzyme, it will now recognize the C1 protein and it will start cleaving this C1 protein. So it will now separate the C domain and N domain of the C1 protein. So as a result, the C1 protein will loses its dimerization, and it will now expose the PL and PR promoters to transcribe the genes for lytic cycle. Okay. So in this picture you can see that the REC enzyme now it will cleave the connector region of the C1 protein. So it will separate all the C domains and the N domains. As a result, the operator region, it will be now exposed, so that the RNA polymerase will bind to uh, PRNPL and start the transcription for the lytic cycle. Okay, so whenever the PR promoter is expressed or exposed, now this PR promoter will be recognized by the RNA polymerase, and this RNA polymerase now it will start the transcription of CRO gene to produce the CRO protein. Now this CRO protein, it will bind to PL and PR region to start the lytic cycle. Okay, so due to the increase in the CRO concentration, now they will bind to OL and OR operator and stops the transcription from both the end respectively. Okay, so because of which the concentration of Q proteins now, so now this Q being an anti-terminator, it will allow the RNA polymerase to now further transcribe through TR3 terminator, and it will transcribe now genes responsible for production of head, tail, and the genes were responsible for the maturation of Faj particles, and also the genes responsible for the lysis of the cells. Okay, so in the maturation process, the DNA, whatever is being replicated, it will be in the form of concatemer. You see, the fragments have not been formed yet, but they will be joined together. So by the action of NUS1 protein, so this NUS1 protein now it will break the DNA into fragments, so that small fragments of DNA can be now uh, incorporated into the head regions. Okay, so in the release process, now the S protein makes pores in the cell membranes of the host cell, through which the mature Fudge particles now uh, released out of the cell. Now this process is known as. Now let us talk in detail about specialized transduction. Okay, so specialized transduction is nothing but when few of the genes of one bacteria is transferred to another bacteria via a bacteriophage or a virus particle, then that is known as transduction. Okay, now this specialized transduction, it is actually only carried out in temperate bacteriophages. Okay, so the bacteriophage which undergoes lysogenic cycle can only have the capability to undergo specialized transduction, or to carry out the specialized transduction. Now for example, we will take lambda phage for studying this specialized transduction in detail. So prophage is nothing but the state in which the lambda genome is inserted into the bacterial genome, right? So the lambda genome will always get inserted between the gal, that is the galactose synthesis genes, and the bioregion, a cluster of genes controlling synthesis of the vitamin biotin of the host chromosome. So in between the gal and bio gene only the lambda genome will get inserted. Okay, so for this lysogenization, or for this incorporation of this genome, lambda genome into the bacterial genome to happen, three genes are required. Those are C1, C2, and C3, as we studied earlier, right? So now this lambda genome, with the help of cos sites, it will now circularize now, and it will undergo genetic recombination with the bacterial genome at a particular site known as. Now in this picture you can see that the fudge attachment site is known as ATTP, and the bacterial genome attachment site is known as ATTB. So the recombination, or the specific recombination, will occur between the attachment sites of these two regions only. So you can see as a result the lambda genome is inserted as follows. So the attachment in bacteria is known as BOB prime, while in phage it is known as POP prime. Okay, and with the help of integrase enzyme. So integrase enzyme is transcribed by which promoter P integrase. Yes, so P integrase will transcribe the integrase gene to produce the integrase enzyme, which will allow the phaged genome to get incorporated into the bacterial genome. Now this state is known as, so now this prophage, it will be remained in dormant stage and it will replicate along with the host replicatory machinery. Okay, so the viral particle, it will not replicate itself, but it will replicate along with the bacterial genome, and it will get passed into generation after the generation. And also along with this, when the lysogenic state has been occurred, whenever new fudge particle infects the bacterium, so the infection is avoided. So the super infection from the another fudge is avoided, or it is prevented because of the repressor. Okay, so uh, whenever there is any kind of DNA damage or any UV irradiation or some kinds of drugs, it induces the excision of the lambda genome from the host. So this pictures gives you ideal differentiation between the lytic and lysogenic cycle. So till the penetration, the cycle will be the same, or the process will be the same, but here you can see that the lambda genome gets incorporated into the bacterial genome and it will get passed into generation after generation. Okay, so whenever there is this is known as lysogenic state. Whenever there is an induction like DNA damage or any UV irradiation or any stress condition, when there is less amount of glucose, with any of these factors, it causes induction. That means the prophage now gets excised from the bacterial genome. So again it will get excised from the bacterial genome, and it will now transcribe the lytic genes. Okay, so the genes which are responsible for the lytic cycle are now transcribed now, and um, the new phage particles have been released. As a result, cell lysis occurs. So the phage genome excision occurs in two possible ways. One is normal event and is rare event. In normal event, only the phage genome gets excised from the host genome, but in mismatch event or in rare event, what happens? Some of the bacterial gene is taken up along with the phage genome, and some of the phage genome may get retrieved or remain in the bacterial genome. This stage is known as defective lambda phage, or that type of phage is known as defective lambda phage. So we know that the recombination, specific recombination or specific transduction occurs between the gal and biogenes of the host cell, right? Host genome. So the lambda gene during the rare event, it may carry either gal gene or the biogene or both of the genes. If the prophage carries gal genes of the host cell with it, then it is known as lambda defective gal. Or if the prophage carries biogenes of the host genome, then it is known as lambda defective bio. Okay, so the excision occurs due to the exase gene transcription, which produces the excision enzyme. So in this picture you can see in the first case you will be having the recombination, the excision. Again the normal phage genome is excised from the bacterial, but in rare cases some abnormal recombination occurs, due to which the some of the bacterial genome is carried along with the lambda genome, and few of the lambda genome is remained within the bacterial genome. Yes, Now again in this picture you will have the overall view of the excision and the integration of the uh, lambda genome into the bacterial genome. So during the excision process, the site specific recombination occurs between the lambda and bacterial genome. So as a result the integration will occur. So here becomes the integration, and after that, because of some inductions like some UV irradiation or less concentration of glucose in the medium, now the XIS gene is now transcribed. Now this excision will form slowly from the outlooping, and now as a result it will now again separate the lambda genome with that of the bacterial genome. Okay, so if the defective lambda gal or defective bio uh, phage enters into the pre-infected cell, it will integrate the genome by genetic recombination between the attachment sites of the host and phage genome. Okay, and if the defective gal or defective bio enters into the normal host cell, then its genome integrates by reciprocal recombination between the gal regions of both host and prophase DNA. Okay, and if defective gal infects gal minus bacteria, then after recombination it may integrate the gal gene in the host cell. Okay. So here you can see lambda gal. This is the lambda gal which has uh, taken up the gal gene from the previous host cell, and this is lambda helper. That means it is the first lambda genome to be integrated. So this is the first lambda genome to be integrated, and this is the second lambda genome to be integrated. Okay, so this first lambda genome is normal, and this second lambda genome, it has gal genome with it. So as a result, what happens, the recombination takes place between the gal regions of the uh, lambda genome and the bacterial genome. So as a result, now previously it was gal negative. Now after the site specific recombination, the lambda genome will now excise the gal gene within the bacteria, and normally it will now excise from the bacterial genome. Okay, so these are the references, you can go through it. Thank you.